and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be working on our little treasure box or ring box or whatever fun stuff you'd like to put in it. I know a lot of you have done lids and then you try to figure out where the lid fits, and that's really frustrating. So I'm going to show you how to make one where it just goes right on your little gourd. I'm going to start with a little mini canteen gourd, and these are a hybrid that we got in this year, and we still have a few left, but they're going to go fast. But think about any type of little gourd that you want to do this. It doesn't have to be a little gourd. It could be a cannonball. It could be a regular canteen, so don't get just stuck in that. I did sand my bottom down a little bit. I also pulled this off and then sanded that down a little bit. These are very hard stems. They make great jack-o'-lanterns as well. So I've got it all prepped and ready to go. We could even put some quick wood in here to make that a little bit better, and then you also could push it down to make it stand a little bit better. So that is another little thing that you could use to help that. So I'm going to use the Miriam Joy craft templates, and these are my product at their miriamjoy.com. And you want a bigger circle than you think you do, so we're going to put a pretty big size lid on there. Don't start with a smaller one, and kind of look across it and try and get it from all angles. And if you know what's the center for sure, then mark it and then put that in the center of your rings. And then we're going to go ahead and trace that all the way around. See how simple the templates make that? And then just kind of look at that. Always bring it up to eye level and make sure that that kind of looks really good and is accurate and everything when I'm working with it. I have a little spot here. I could fill him within quick wood, but I'm going to make him my back part. So I'm going to kind of figure out where I want my two little hinges to be. You don't want them far enough that you can't flip it, so we want them closer together. So I'm going to put them right about there, I believe. And we're going to use eyelets. And I picked these up from Maria Delos, and I'll give you her web page information. And these are 332s, which are the larger ones. And you want to use a drill that is big enough that you can stick these into. And the reason we're doing this now is so we have this lined up that we don't cut our lid out first and then have to figure out where that is. So we're doing it first. So I'm using the Gourd drill by the Caning Shop, which is a real nice drill. And so these were 332, so what we want is a hole just big enough that those fit right into. And it's all going to go ahead and these are really thick little guys. And how we know it's the right size is that's going to fit in there. I wish it was a little bit tighter, but that's okay because we're going to glue this in with E6000, so it's going to be just fine, and it doesn't sink down in there, so that's just fine. So we're going to go ahead and do we've got all little holes all done. So now we know where they're going to line up, so we're not going to worry about that. And you should be using a mask when you're cutting gourds of any kind. What we're going to do is we're going to use our hobby knife, and this is a little thicker gourd, so it's going to be a little bit trickier, but we've got to put a little bit of a hole in here so that we can get our blade in here without removing too much of our lid. So, and it's harder because these guys are a little bit thicker. Now, if I wasn't doing a lid where I wanted it to fit back on exactly, I would just cut another section off right here, right next to the other one, and make my hole. Okay, now that we've got our saw in there, we're going to go all the way around, and again, I'm using the Gourd saw from the Caning Shop, which makes it nice and easy. turn it off and move my gourd around. And my blade is going away from me. And we want to line it right back up with where we started when we first got going here. And there we have it. Now we're going to go ahead and take him outside and clean him out and get rid of all the stuff. Make sure you're wearing your mask when you clean him out. And I don't sand the rim at all. I sanded this one guy just a tad, and I didn't think it would matter, and it still kind of fell back in a little bit, but this guy's kind of doing the same. So I may put a couple tad of glue just to build it up just a little bit so that lid doesn't sink. But we're going to go clean him out. Once I finished cleaning him out, I went outside and I took my just real inexpensive spray paint from Walmart, 98 cents, and I just sprayed it on the inside and the outside, and I got really close. I don't worry about being far away. It's the only time I don't. Now if you get a little bit of overspray like this, you're just simply going to take your magic eraser, Mr. Clean's magic eraser, and we're just going to remove that overspray. So don't worry about it if you get it there, and then we're going to cover it up anyway. So we've got a lot going on, so I'm not really worried about that. But if you're not comfortable doing the edges, get your black acrylic out and paint the edges, and that will go on really simple. So we've got that ready to go. Now let's get our coloring going. I'm going to kind of show you a new color technique I've been working with. I'm using the alcohol inks. I'm using some of the Adirondacks, but I've really been working with the Jacquard, and these are the ones that Maria Dello sells, and they're thicker. So depending on what you like, they have a great color, and I'll give you her contact information as well. But I'm going to be using the tangerine, the chili pepper, and I'm going to do gold, and then we'll see about adding a little bit of brown to that. And I use my same palette because it kind of sticks in there, and I'm going to be using some makeup brushes. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my red now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of the alcohol blending solution. I have the Adirondack brand, but Jacquard also has some. So just kind of depending on what you're using, I'm going to put it in that section that I'm working on. So I'm going to go ahead and put the yellow and red on in different areas. It seems like you're using a lot, but you're actually only pouring drops out when you're using the color, so don't quite worry about that. It's not as much as you think it is. So now I'm going to come back and put a darker color onto these. A brown, and I'm just putting a little bit of it in my little little makeup brush, and when it kind of gets to the texture I kind of want it, I'm going to heat set it to get that look that I want. So you're going to kind of get like a spotty kind of look. And it dries really fast, so we want to make sure that you hit it really fast. And I'm going to put a little bit of blending solution into this too. I'm just going to pour a little bit out, pick it up with my paint, and then I'm going to hit it again. Start putting that onto my red. You're going to start to see all those cool, kind of almost a webbing type design. My gun doesn't want to stay standing now for some reason. But if you don't heat set it and you let it go, you're not going to get all these cool little textures. And that's what we're aiming for. And the more you do it, the more they're going to kind of show up. So when you get it to looking a certain way, you're going to lift that up. And just play with it till you get it where you want it. I'm going to work some yellow back into that, and I'm not going to keep you here while I work it, and just get that right where I like it. I've kind of got the red and yellow tangerine color where I want them now, so I'm going to add some gold to it. And on the gold, I'm going to definitely add some blending to it so it'll kind of fan out a little bit more. So I'm putting it into my pad first, and then kind of dipping into the gold. And we want that to fan out a little bit before we hit that. And you can always put back more blending solution into it as well. I don't quite have that spread out as much as I want yet, so I kind of shot myself in the foot. I put the blending powder on the side. Blend that out a little bit, and while I'm doing it, I'm just going to bring the other color back into it as well. So we're getting some gold in there. That's good. I really like the gold. So I'm going to try to put some more blending solution in, and let's try to get a little bit onto our pad. So we're getting a little bit more there. just hit it back again with your blending solution so that you kind of have that all toned down. Okay, so I think I basically got him where I want to put him. And just make sure, even if you didn't use a heat and you just blended back and forth, that you do heat set this little guy. And at this point in time, we're going to go ahead and finish heat setting him, and then we're going to varnish him. And on him, I'm just going to use a spray varnish, and I'm going to do 2 or 3 coats. So I'm going to go ahead and head outside and do that, and we'll come back and finish him up. Now that we have our gourd nice and varnished, we're going to use our E6000, and we do carry that on the website. We usually always have a standing order of buy one get one free. We're going to put E6000 into these little holes, and we're going to put our eyelets in. So we're going to get those all done. And make sure you don't have too much that's coming out the sides. I'm going to go ahead and glue all of mine in. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about the inside, you could make the inside fabric, and what you would do is just cut a bigger circle and then cut it in a couple of places, probably 4 places inward, and then it'll start to fit right down into your little treasure box. So you could do it that way. That would be a fun, nice middle part. And get that one in and that one in. If yours are a little bit tighter and you have to hit them with the hammer a little bit, don't be afraid to do that. The next thing I'm going to do is take my suede lacing, and I'm going to bring it to a point because it's a little bit bigger, and I'm going to do it on both ends. Our lacing's a little bit bigger than our eyelet, so that's why it's real important to have is the eyelets bigger. And if you were even doing a bigger gourd, I would even suggest finding them bigger. And then I'm going to glue the E6000 in. Try to keep it off the outside of the eyelet part. And we're going to push these in, and I probably should have brought my bead reamer. We're going to get those in really well. So we want those in nice and tight. And I'm going to go ahead and just use the other side. And if you want to give time for your eyelet to glue down first, that's fine too, because we don't quite have it dry yet. Now I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the other side of these. And you really want to see your cording or your lacing coming through the other side. And you could use cording. There's nothing that says you have to use the lacing. And if that dries and that shows, just paint over that again with the black. So now that we have these, we want to kind of figure out how much room, because we do want these pretty tight from this one to the next one, but we've got to have enough room for that little angle cut again. So, and they should be about the same on both sides. And that's pretty close. So again, let's put the glue back in. Just make sure you don't have any on your eyelid. Try to keep it off your eyelid as much as possible. And gonna stick these guys. I'm going to take him down a little bit more. I still think he's a little bit too long. I've got too much play in that. You want that kind of tight. I pulled him out again. Remember I said you could let that part glue and that dry. That's kind of why. Ahead and cut this other one down too. And then you're going to push them into that eyelet. And the trick to really getting these in is having the right tools. I went back and I got my bead reamer, but also letting these first ones dry in there and then gluing the suede on. So once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and find a cute little topper. What kind of topper we want for this? And thus I have a piece of coral. But if I was doing black and white and silver, wouldn't that really be beautiful? And you can use beads, you can use jewelry pieces, there's all kinds of fun stuff you can use. So really don't think about what I've just told you here, but think about other things that you can do. You can also see how this guy is setting in a little bit. Once this gets dried, I'm going to come back and just put a dab of glue there and there so that he does not sink in all of the way. Just don't put the lid in and close it while it's drying. Otherwise, you'll go ahead and have that stuck. But that is how we do our cute little treasure box. On this one, I just did some beads. I built some beads up. You can always stack a bead onto a bead with your E6000, and then I put a little tiny bead on top and I colored it with my alcohol dyes. Remember, they'll work on all kinds of things, glass, plastic, all kinds of things. I have a little bird there that would be really cute on something as well. So there's all kinds of ways you can decorate it. You can put some rim around, which I may do on this with some stones that would really add to it, or just something fun. But just take what I did and build on that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed our little treasure box and how to use it, and I enjoyed seeing how wonderful these mini canteens are and how thick these little boogers are. So they're just really fun to use. So come on over to our shop at miriamjoy.com. See what fun things that we're bringing in for you there. Thank you. God bless.